demonstrate what an exceptional student you are when you're surrounded by a sea of some of the smartest people you've ever met. In this video today, I'm going to be telling you guys my secrets to how you can be the best medical student on placement. Welcome back to my returning subscribers and a warm welcome to anyone who is new here. My name is Ashima and I'm a third year medical student from Melbourne. And what my channel is all about is showing people from diverse and disadvantaged backgrounds that being a doctor is a feasible career path for everyone and anyone who wants to pursue it. My own personal story is that a few years ago I was kicked out of university, and then a few years after that I managed to get accepted into medicine at Australia's #1 university, and I honestly did it all with no financial assistance, just by going to the library and dedicating myself to pursuing that goal. All along that journey I had a lot of doubt because I'd never seen it done before, and I didn't really see many people like myself studying medicine and becoming doctors, so I just didn't know if it was possible. Going through that 180-degree transformation really solidified my belief that no matter where you are in life, if you have a goal, if there's something that you want, you can achieve it if you give it your all. So I'm here to be your #1 cheerleader and tell you whatever your goal is, no matter how giant, I believe you can do it, and I reckon you should go for it. Alright, now that we have that out of the way, time to get into the meat of the video. So you have worked for years to get into medicine. You've been studying since prep. You have spent months preparing for entry exams. You have lost so many nights sleep over this goal. You spent hours preparing for interviews with your friends and family. One day you open up your inbox and you see that sweet email saying, "Congratulations for securing your spot in medical school." But the journey has only just begun. Sooner than you know, it's the eve of your first hospital placement. Never mind the fact that you have a better shot at getting your USB drive into the computer first time than you do with putting a stethoscope on in the correct orientation. You're a new part of the very adult and very serious world of healthcare. I cannot overstate how big a responsibility it is to be working in a hospital. It is huge. You survive your first morning, and after 3 wrong turns, you make your way to the safe haven of the common room and your classmates. You're halfway through biting an apple when your classmate Ernest starts telling you about his research project that he completed this summer. Ernest actually figured out a way to get surgeons to remotely operate scopes so long as they had access to a rhesus macaque monkey and a bobby pin. As you wipe the drool off your face, hoping that your classmates don't notice, you think, shit. Everyone here is bloody brilliant. How are you going to demonstrate what an exceptional student you are when you're surrounded by a sea of some of the smartest people you've ever met? Medicine is so much more than just pure academia, and these tips are going to make you shine, they're going to make your seniors notice you, and most importantly, they're going to make you an excellent doctor. My first tip is to say hello to, or at least acknowledge, as many people as you can in the hospital. A mindset that you should adopt when you have placement or you're working in a hospital is that everyone who's working in the hospital is on the same team. Whether you're a doctor, whether you're an IT, whether you work in the cafe, whether you're a nurse, everyone is working for the benefit of the patient, and everyone in the hospital is your colleague. Think about how you want to feel when you go to work. You want to feel included. You want to feel like it's a warm place to be. So by being that person who waves at other staff members in the staff areas or smiles at people in the lift, you're really adding a lot to the culture of the hospital, and it's a very powerful trait to have, to be so inclusive and so positive to be around. A thing to remember with this one is to not overthink it. It's perfectly fine if you've never met this person before, or they work in a different department, or they work in a completely different area of the hospital. If they're in the staff area, you're on the same team, perfectly polite to say hello and acknowledge their presence, and you never know who you're going to meet this way. Please note, going forth in this video, whenever I use the word colleague, I'm using it to classify everyone in the hospital, not just all of the doctors that you're going to meet. My next tip is to be as positive as you can about your workplace. Most people go to work to make money, and that means that a lot of the time, even though people are at work, there's maybe somewhere else that they'd like to be. That's just a normal part of life. Nothing brings down team morale faster than when someone is complaining about the work, and it makes everyone go into this headspace where they're also looking for all of the negative things that there is to say about their workplace. You If you have genuine worries and complaints about the health and safety of people at your work, of course you should pursue speaking to HR, speaking to your seniors and trying to resolve that issue. But constantly complaining to your colleagues about trivial things is only going to serve to bring the morale down and is going to make it harder for everyone to have a nice, pleasant day at work. So just refrain from doing that as best you can. Go into your placement with the mindset that you're going to make the team a little bit brighter any way you can, and this one should be a piece of cake. The next tip is to never skip ironing your clothes. When we meet people, it takes seconds for them to come up with judgments about you, and that's all before you've even had a chance to open your mouth. So you want to really consider what that first impression of yourself is going to be in a new team. Ironing your clothes is a simple thing that just communicates so much. It firstly says that you're looking forward to your job and that you're proud to be there. It also communicates that you are prepared. You had the foresight to plan to have time to iron your clothes to make it to your job on time today, and that shows a certain level of preparation. It's easy to extrapolate out that someone who's taken the time to iron their clothes has done their due diligence in other forms of preparation as well. Ironing your clothes also demonstrates that you complete tasks with a level of finesse. Someone who irons their clothes isn't just going to hodgepodge things together. What someone who irons their clothes might do is that if they are applying a bandage to a patient's arm, they're going to do that to a level of aesthetic finesse. And that visual result that the patient sees really does a lot to add to your credibility as a doctor and build a rapport with the patient. Ironing your clothes also simply just says that you respect your colleagues and you respect your patients enough that you care about how you look when you interact with them. The next thing is to be so careful gossiping about your colleagues or your superiors. Gossip is such a huge topic in itself, and I know that not all gossip is created equal, and that gossip is actually a healthy part of living in a tribe and a community environment. But my own personal philosophy is that I try really hard to never say anything negative about anyone that I work with. And in those rare instances where something happened and I really feel as though I need to talk about it, I always de-identify that person. I never say any names. I never say what department. I try to keep it as ambiguous as I can. I can't advocate in good conscience that everyone adopt this attitude that I have, because I've seen some good research that gossiping is the checks and balances that keeps people accountable in society. But for me, it's easier to navigate the politics of being at a hospital, adopting a if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything mentality. Some of the reasons that you might want to avoid gossiping is because, firstly, medicine is such a small world, honestly. It is minuscule. You'll run into the same people over and over and over again throughout your career. And I just don't like the idea of accidentally jeopardizing a professional relationship I have by saying some flippant comment that I later regret. I think it can also make you appear really untrustworthy and immature. I've met some senior consultants at the hospital, and sometimes within an hour of me meeting them, they'll already start to make remarks like, Roger from general medicine is a terrible doctor, or Terry from anesthetics is atrocious to work with. And it always gives me pause when I hear statements like this. It really makes me think, how can this person feel so comfortable and confident saying so many negative things to someone that they don't know? They must do this kind of thing all of the time. It makes me want to withdraw from being around that person because, firstly, I don't want to be caught in their firing line, and secondly, it just doesn't align with my morals, and I would hate to accidentally pick up some of these traits myself. The next tip, which if you're a Game of Thrones fan you would have learned from the show, is to hold the door. Hospitals are big sprawling buildings with many heavy doors, so make sure that if you're the first person to a door, hold it open for everyone who's about to come through. Letting people through the door before you is a really powerful way to practice humility and show your respect for your colleagues. Humility is a top tier human strength that I don't think we talk about enough. It shows that you have a level of dignity and poise in your social interactions, and it shows that you are a trustworthy and likable person and that you're not going to put yourself ahead of other people. Humility is especially important if you're a doctor, because as a doctor you have so much power and you have so much privilege, and it would just be a tragedy if you let that get to your head. The next tip is one of my favorites, and it's to be on time. And when I say on time, I mean 15 minutes before you're supposed to get there. You will learn very quickly at the hospital that when you're a student, no one respects your time at all. but that's not an excuse to not be respectful and timely to everyone else's time. Even if your senior is routinely half an hour late, that's not an excuse for you to also be half an hour late, because that day that they do rock up on time, they're not going to be impressed with the fact that you're not there and you're not ready. I don't make the rules, I just observe them, and once you're in the habit of being somewhere 15 minutes early, it's going to be easy. The next tip is if someone gives you an opportunity at placement, make sure to enthusiastically accept. Here's an example. Let's pretend that you're a senior and you're going to offer me, the medical student, an opportunity to come to theatre today. So student A, yeah, theatre, thank you. Yeah, I will see you there, thanks. Compared to student B, to theatre today, thank you so much. I would love to come and I really appreciate that you thought of me. Which student do you think you would offer opportunities to more in the future? Someone who passively accepts or someone who enthusiastically accepts and makes you feel good about making that offer? I definitely know who I gravitate towards more. On the topic of opportunities, make sure that you're not someone who hoards opportunities. It's good to remember that all of the senior doctors that you come across in the hospital, they have all been to medical school before you, and so they know that some people will keep opportunities from other students to try to get an edge themselves, and that sort of behaviour is just not on and not acceptable in medicine. I'm going to tap into that woo-woo sliver of my brain to say that I am a big believer in what goes around comes around, and also in abundance mentality. So if there's a cool procedure going on and you message all your friends that they can come and observe this procedure, that sort of behaviour will come back to you in spades, and the opposite of that behaviour is just going to be very apparent that you're not a good team player. So make sure that you look out for all of your classmates, and your seniors will definitely notice little behaviours like that. My next tip is to never forget your manners, and 3 of the most powerful words that you can say are please, thank you, and bless you. These 3 words will get you so far in the hospital, and it's definitely not something that you should overlook. When you're a doctor or a student, you are constantly asking other people for favours, whether you're asking radiology to rush through your x-ray, or you're talking to general medicine to ask if they can come and review your patient. You're always asking people for favours, and by saying please and thank you regularly, that's going to really strengthen your professional relationships. I was in a meeting the other morning with a surgical team, and all of the doctors were talking about how desperately they wanted all of the scrub nurses to like them, because it just makes their working life so much easier. And you best believe that please and thank you is the foundation to building strong relationships with your colleagues. I'd love to get to know you guys a bit better, so it'd be awesome if you could put in the comments where you're studying, what you're studying, and what year you're in. Next up, I think you might be interested in watching my day in the life of a medical student video. Enjoy!